UBT's Action Line podcast is a production of UBT Media. You're on the United by Trucks Action Line podcast. I'm your host, Robbie Purser. In this podcast, we dive deep with those who share a love for classic trucks and like to have some good old-fashioned automotive fun, telling stories, truths, and maybe even a few exaggerated tales. Brought to you by Tinworks Fabrication. This special new series called Off the Rails is our place for shenanigans, where we chat with all the characters and personalities. We've shared classic truck road trips, builds, and plenty of times, good and bad.
Concerned how you guys say Louisville.
Yeah.
Louisville.
Here, take this phone, babe. Use this one. And then watch that for Jackson, please.
Jake talking about, I said, he's got, the accent is just like yours. He's like, I don't have an accent.
Yeah. Well,
he's like, you have an accent.
This is clearly one of my favorite photos.
Whose truck is it?
That is Taylor Inge from Inge Auto Works, and he's out of Louisville, Kentucky.
That was my desktop background for a while.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's a great photo. I cannot believe we snapped that with the geese flying over. Cool. It's so cool. I'm very, very, very proud of that one, for sure.
It deserves to be that big.
Well, I'm here with two of my favorite people. We got Phill Cann back from Rhode Island.
Yep. This time I didn't drive. I flew this time.
Yeah. You flew in last night, flying out tonight. It's a
quick hit.
It's a super quick trip. We got Garrett Chappell, the media man himself, who's helping.
What up?
UBT, helping Gasson, and for you guys who don't even know what Gasson is, we're talking about a new company that we're starting, and I am super stoked about this. This is a special drop, a special Action Line podcast drop, where we're going to be talking a little bit about this new company, actually a lot about this new company and what we're doing with it. So really quickly, just so everybody at home knows, Phill is the engineer for this company. He's helping develop our own Gassin Supply Co line of parts. And then Garrett is helping the whole thing from a media marketing side, make sure that the visuals look like we want it to, because in this room, we're all creatives in some sense or another, whether it's on the design side, whether it's on the photography, videography side. So we've assembled here for the next 24 hours to shoot product photos, to shoot product reviews, to talk about these products in a way that folks who will potentially buy them will understand what's going on with it. So super stoked to have you guys here.
Oh yeah, super exciting.
Yes, this is so fun.
Yeah, a lot of brain power in this room right now.
I mean, maybe on that side of the table. I'm feeling a little brain dead this minute. We've also got Sarah in the room, my wife, who also produces this podcast. We've got Garrett's wife, Jess, who's in the room. You guys are down from North Carolina. You live over on the coast of North Carolina. We got Millie in the room, my little girl, who's posted up in the orange chair that's not in the corner where Phill normally is.
But we full house today.
We're trying to make the heights right over there on that side of the table. But we got a full house in here, and we got some of our parts laid right here on the table, which is super exciting. These are parts that are built for DIY guys who are trying to build their classic truck. So just on the table, to give you guys an idea of what the Gasson developed parts look like, we've got a battery box for a Group 34 battery. We've got air compressor brackets. We've got these really cool 3D printed head exhaust port block-offs. I don't know exactly what you're calling those, Phill, but that's kind of what I've been thinking of them as. We've got a Terminator X ECU mount. We've got an LS Gen 3 ECU mount on the table. We've got some other products that we'll talk about, but these are just kind of the main examples that we're showing you guys today. I just can't get over how excited I am about this.
Yeah, it's really awesome. It's a culmination of just like creativity and then just all of our experience building trucks, and then seeing like, what is it that we're missing when we build? Like, what is it that like every time we have to go looking for a part, and like rather than just search a bunch of sites, like we're just going to put it all on one site.
These are made to be accessible for the DIY guy, but they're going to come to you fully satin black powder coated in most instances and ready to be installed. In most instances, it'll also come with hardware or riv nuts where it's applicable, but we're trying to just make this as easy as possible for the DIY guy building stuff at home in their garage. We're not really reinventing the wheel here. We're taking what we've learned, I think, from building trucks, as Phill said, and incorporating it into these parts, but I don't want everybody to think like, oh, this is just some new thing that we've we have totally redesigned these parts from other parts that we've used in the past, but we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here.
No.
We're just trying to keep the consistency and the quality and the accessibility for the end consumer.
Yep.
So I want to talk a little bit about how this started. And what's funny is that this started really with you sitting across this table, Phill.
Yeah, 3 months ago.
3 or 4 months ago when you were down shooting the podcast. Garrett has been involved on the media side, for those who don't know, of UBT for the last year and a half now, maybe even a little longer.
Yeah.
And we just shot a podcast with you yesterday. It probably has already come out by the time folks are hearing this. So if you have not heard the podcast with Garrett, you want to go check that out. So I brought Garrett in to help us on the Gassin Supply Co side, to help us, like I said, with the media and marketing piece and making sure that the brand, looks a certain way. And then Phill has been designing these parts. I mean, these are your designs. We have collaborated on 90% of them to make sure that, what I think is important is embedded in them. But the cool thing is, and we talked about this on your podcast, I think we should talk about it a little bit here, is you've been designing parts before Gasson ever got off the ground in your home garage, single car garage up in Rhode Island. So talk a little bit about how some of that got started and what the necessity, was for it.
So this was sort of like necessity is the mother of all creation, as like the slogan sort of goes. And that's very much like how we got to this point. So one thing led to another, and I was looking for a manufacturer to get a part that they no longer produced. And so rather than try to find it used or overpay for whatever, I said, you know what, let me put my hat in the ring here. And I bought a 3D printer and got Fusion 360 or CAD software, whatever you pick, and started doing some of this stuff. And it really started from small brackets that can just hold like a brake line or something like that, and now it's escalated into multi-component pieces that you're seeing on the desk. And so some of this I've actually used in the past already on my own builds. Now it's just a little bit has a little bit of a twist to it now, but so all of this stuff is everything that I would be using in my own build. It's even been upgraded from stuff that I've already previously used. So we have a lot of good offerings just on this table, let alone what's coming down the pipeline too.
Yeah, and just to give everybody at home an idea of what types of vehicles you're using these products on, hit them with what your little stable looks like at home.
A lot of this can be used for anything and everything. So that was kind of like the idea of the brand that we've been talking about.
Yep.
But right now, some of these parts are in a 1968 Volkswagen Beetle. Some of these parts are in a 1968 C10. Others are in a 1986 C10.
Yeah.
And this stuff can go in whatever Chevelle, Nova, Mustang, whatever you're building. A lot of this stuff is going to be universal, and that was kind of the idea that we wanted
Absolutely.
to do.
Yeah, so as much as UBT is a truck brand, and we're all truck guys sitting around this table, Garrett's got a 63, an 88 OBS. His dad's had tons of trucks. You've had tons of trucks over your life. We're truck guys. There's no doubt about it. But we wanted to make these parts, at least a specific batch of parts, that can be used across the classic community, the classic car community. So we've got, like I said, a battery box here. We've got air compressor brackets for the airbag guys. Phill, actually, before why don't you run through some of the specs on what you see here, and then what we've got coming? I think is a good thing to let folks know about. Actually, before you do that, though, let me say that we've got the Gassin Supply Co. as the overall company. We're producing our own parts under that brand, like the ones you see here on this table. But we're also going to be dealers and we are dealers for other brands like Tinworks, QA1, Boyd Welding, AMD. Man, the list really kind of goes on and on and on, and I don't have the list in front of me because we're doing this off the cuff. So we're going to be able to service the needs of our classic truck friends, but also the needs of the classic car community, and I think that's really the focus of Gassin Supply, and I'm really excited about that. So Phill, hit us with some of the specs on some of these.
So like Robbie was saying, a lot of the stuff you're going to be able to buy and just get the battery cage and the battery that's specifically outfitted for this, or the compressor bracket and the compressor that's specifically outfitted for this. So some of it is universal. A lot of it is kind of designed to use with a specific part. On the video here on the front of the table, this is half of one piece that's going to be delivered to you. It's going to come in two pieces, and this is going to mount a Gen 3 LS PCM. And so we originally had the design where it was a full over-the-top sort of shell down design, but we're going to we cut it down into halves, so that way it's easier to stash away if you don't need it. It's easier to mount. This uses, I think it's 3/8 or 5/16 hardware to bolt into whatever you want. If it's your fender well or behind the fender firewall, or underneath the bench, wherever you want. And then the LS gets mounted, or the PCM gets mounted in the top using the actual clamshell bolts from the LS PCM. So we'll give you the hardware, or pick whichever you want. If you want socket head or button head to mount it, and then the little Phillips screws will just mount the actual PCM into that. So that's something that was every LS swap is going to need something of this. And if you don't use the factory PCM, there's other options for you, but this one is it's so ubiquitously necessary to use on like an LS swap. So
absolutely.
So that was like the first one we did. And then a lot of the guys will like the Holley Terminator X, which is coming down the line on the next one. So Holley does a great job, and they package their PCM in like a very compact horizontal shape. And so this bracket will then allow, very similar, this mounts to wherever you want, if it's in the engine bay or in the cab or whatever.
Or under the dash.
Under the dash, I run mine. Wherever you want. And so
under the seat.
The 4 holes on the top are actually going to be, they kind of come with 1/4-20 riv nuts in that. And so the idea of this was that you can take the mount or the Terminator X in and out of the vehicle if you have to service it, without having to remove the bolt holes that you put it in, whatever, wherever you locked it in the vehicle. So this way it's very easily accessible to get in and out. You're not stripping the bolt holes off, or if you welded in the studs or whatever you did. So that was the idea of that one. Then coming back down the line a little bit more towards Robbie, we have the LS head block offs or whatever. So
yeah, we got to come up with a clever name for this.
Yeah, whatever it was. But again, necessity is the mother of creation. And so when I was building my last LS motor, I was like, hey, how do I keep the dirt and the dust and the condensation of everything from coming out of it? And I had actually just printed off some stickers to block the port. And I said, why don't we dial that up a little bit more, and we'll make some block offs for it. So these are fitted exactly like an LS header gasket. And so those bolt holes match up exactly to what you need to. The thickness of them is 3/8, I think it is. Yes, yep. 3/8, which is the same thickness of an exhaust flange. So if you have hardware, you don't need any additional. You just throw the your hardware bolts in there for those.
And I think the important part, I want to jump in on this. So whereas you're probably noticing on camera, these are not steel. These are not aluminum.
No, that is.
We have 3D printed. You have 3D printed these, so these are more like a plastic material that even have some marks on them. They're not like not a perfect piece like a lot of our steel parts. But we're trying to create a really unique and inexpensive way for you to block off those ports in your head, and it still be quality and look good, you know, sitting on a stand.
Well, the idea of it is that you're not going to need that part forever. Like eventually the motor, well, never say never. I got some stuff on jack stand. But
the motor's supposed to go into the vehicle.
When you finish it, you take those off and they go on the shelf or whatever. So everything else that's like full production that you're going to run on the vehicle permanently is a little bit more designed that way. The exhaust flangers or the block offs are just 3D printed, but it's 3D printed out of ASA plastic, so it is UV and heat resistant. So if your garage gets hot or if it gets super sunny, those won't sag, those won't decolor, those are going to stay however they are right there for a while.
And they have our nifty little logo.
Oh,
in
yeah.
there, which I think is so cool. So cool.
Then coming back over towards me on the table, we got a compressor bracket specifically fitted for Air 444, 480, or 485 style compressors. So that's kind of like the typical bread and butter that most guys are going to run, either a single or a double. And so those use the footings for the Air compressors that are actually going to already come with that. So you're just going to take out the 4-foot bolts for the Air compressors with the little rubber isolators, feed it through those, and then on the back side, you have a couple different options for mounting. So again, this was designed for being universal in mind. So if you have it on your frame, or again behind the bench in the cab, or wherever it may be, this is exactly that. So you have a little bit of slotting sizing to wherever you want to mount it, and then just pick your bolt holes. So whatever fits your fit.
Yeah, and the other cool thing about this is I even think about new truck guys who have rear bags on their truck, helper bags.
Yeah.
Like, I need to put a set on mine. I want to mount a compressor, an air compressor outside the frame or anywhere under the truck. I can use these brackets to do so. So it's something that has more of a fit even outside of the classic world, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that, like you said, that can be even for like the tow guys if they need to throw a compressor and a quick management in there.
Yep, very cool. And then let's move to the thing that I'm most proud of.
Yeah, so we're really stoked on this one. This is an designed with an Opta in mind, Group 3478, so top mount or side posts. And this is made out of 3/16 steel. Everything is tab and slotted into itself, and so the fit and finish of this thing is just out of this world great. It's going to use 1/4-20 hardware to keep that top that Robbie's got right there in place. And then it's designed with the size of a frame in mind. So if you mount this behind the rear wheels or underneath the cab or wherever you want, this thing is solid. And the fit and finish is, again, I can't speak highly enough about this. When you put a battery in there, everything fits as it should, and it keeps the battery nice and snug. So there's no wiggle room. It's not bouncing around as you're going down the road and, you know, breaking the hardware and stressing the threads in this thing. It's built to last, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is I've owned a lot of battery boxes, and a lot of guys build battery. Whoa, sorry. Let me get this mic around in front of me. How about that? I've owned a lot of battery boxes. A lot of guys manufacture battery boxes that are super cool that fill the same type of space that this would. However, our design is a bit unique in that it has this front little lip here. And the reason I like this lip, even though you might argue that it adds a little bit of weight, is that it helps mount this battery securely in any configuration. Upside down, you can mount it this way. You can mount it on the frame rail. You can mount it this way. And this, along with the top piece, gives you, or would at least give me, a ton of faith that your battery's not coming out of this box.
Yeah.
So I just really love this front lip and how this was designed.
We designed this with that idea in mind because I've had some battery boxes for like the same size battery and they've straight up broken on me. Yeah. And I mean, I had one that literally snapped the cage in half and my battery was on the ground and I was an hour and a half away from my house. So
oh man.
I don't want that to happen when we built this. And so it may be overbuilt in some aspects, but it's built, I mean, batteries aren't light. They're 50 pounds. So
completely.
There's a lot of shear force on the battery, which is why we have this triangulated down here to like actually carry that weight. So when you hit the bumps, it's not bending this bracket.
Yep.
That thing's not going to go anywhere. So.
Yeah, I'm super stoked on it. I'm most proud of how all of this looks. I mean, even the way the logo's blown through here, and it just looks so good and is so quality. And like I said, we're doing this with, putting together a decade plus of experience messing around with these vehicles, and trying to, make the best quality part we can for the best possible value for our end user. We have some other parts coming. Do you want to cover some of those?
Yeah, I'll touch base on a little bit.
You got a list in front of you that might help us out?
We got a couple things coming down the pipeline too. We on Teddy, you always have the exhaust flanges that kind of like come out the side of the bed.
Yep.
So we're going to be offering some 3-inch or 2.5 if you want it, some exhaust flanges, so you can. It'll come with like a nice little cutout so you can just trace it on the body, whatever you want. It's going to come with M6 hardware, so it sits flush against it, so you can run a 3-inch exhaust through that.
Actually, while you're talking about the other part, let me run and grab the 3D part.
Yep. Other than that, we also have a battery terminal pocket. So everyone that's running remote battery terminals, because if you have your battery mounted underneath the frame or whatever, a lot of guys will run leads to for posts for charging or jumping and things like that. So we have a battery pocket, whether that's 3D printed or CNC'd, we're going to figure that out. We're also going to be offering drop blocks, both in 2.5-inch, 3-inch for 60 to 72 trucks. So those guys that are trailing arms, so you're just going to be able to pick your drop, throw those in the back. Robbie just came in with a couple of those pieces too.
Yeah, so I want to talk about just really quickly. So as Phill talked about his ability to 3D print with his 3D printer at home in Rhode Island, and then be able to go out and test fit it right there in your garage, which is what I love so much. But just to show you guys kind of how we're developing some of this stuff, this is a 3D printed model of the exhaust flange. So you can see here, 3-inch diameter here, maybe a little larger actually.
3.2 if I'm not mistaken. So it comes with like 0.1 of an inch around the exhaust.
Yep. And then you've got this little lip here that helps locate it inside the fender, which I think is excuse me, while that might seem super simple to you guys at home, I think is like a really smart design.
Well, it also adds a lot to the cost of producing that part for us, but we didn't want to skimp out and just have like a top-mounted flange. Like you said, with that lip in there, once you cut the hole in whatever, the hood, the fender, the bed, or whatever, it locates it. So that way when you're drilling your holes, you're not holding it up there trying to make one and kind of guessing off that. It takes all that work out of that, and so it just literally centers itself. And then we have that designed with angle head M6 Allen head, or whatever the term is.
Yep.
And so that hardware sits perfectly flush in that flange. So
yep, it's got a nice little beveled edge on the outside.
Well thought out piece.
And I think it'll fit very similar if anybody has paid attention to the exhaust flange that we have on Teddy in the bedside. It will fit very similarly to that. Yep. Another piece that we're going to be offering, and the reason we don't have these parts in front manufactured and completely finished is these are CNC parts, and so we're still waiting on those to be manufactured. But cool thing is we have these 3D printed parts, so you can exactly, or in most respects, see how they're going to be developed. So what is this I'm holding here?
Yep, so this is the one I touched on just a bit ago. This is the battery, the remote battery terminal. So like I was saying, a lot of guys are going to locate their battery elsewhere underneath the hood from, under the cab or under the bed. And the problem with that is when the truck inevitably dies, you have to get underneath there with jumper cables. So rather than doing that, you just run a negative and a hot to those. And so you can mount that, again, anywhere and everywhere that you think it's going to be best suited for.
Yeah, if you've got a super low truck and you've raised the bed floor, a typical place for this to go is in that section that you filled in, right where you let down the tailgate. You could mount this inside your bed on a filler panel inside the bed.
So this one originally got developed for my 1968 Beetle. So underneath the rear seats, there's like a kick panel, and the battery is actually underneath the seat. So if you have to jump that car, you have to take the seat out. And so I literally made that for that application. So
very cool.
Don't think just trucks on this stuff. Like a lot of it is universal. Like if looking at your own car, thinking about your own project in mind, looking at this table, I'm sure you'll see all the opportunities for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Another cool thing is this is something that I have just really felt super passionate about needing, and not something that's overly done, but a really nice piece that will actually hold the 3.5-inch LCD screen from for a Terminator X, Terminator X Max, even the Sniper 2 screen. So your diagnostic screen essentially, or your monitoring screen. So we've designed this little bracket here that will actually angle it. You mount it under the dash; it'll angle it away from the dash. It has a little bit of a bend here, a little bit of a what would you call that?
A brake.
A brake. Thank you. A little bit of a brake here that has some degree in it, so it angles it up towards you a little bit and brings it toward the driver. So you could buy that separately from the actual pocket itself, but Phill 3D prints and has designed a pocket that works seamlessly with our bracket that includes these two holes here that will allow you to flush mount hardware from the sleeve into this bracket, and you can buy this whole setup ready to go with the hardware. Slide your 3.5-inch LCD screen in, bolt this to the bottom of your dash, and you're ready to go.
Yeah. So the idea there is that it's on an axis or on a kilt so that when you mount the screen off to the right of you, it actually faces the driver. And so you don't have to, worry about glares or anything like that. And then, like you said, the benefit of being able to design these things from the scratch is that I can place these holes exactly where they need to be for that mount. So the sleeve mount for the Terminator X LCD screen is almost exactly as the one that Holley's going to give you. So if you wanted to try to save a couple bucks, you could keep your original one and then just mark and drill the holes, or we're going to offer this to you as a full kit, and so you don't have to deal with any of that. It takes all the guesswork out. It is flanged, I think is the actual term for that. Or
what for here?
Yeah, countersunk. Yeah. A good way. So the bolt heads are countersunk into that, so it won't put any added pressure on the back of your LCD. So just again, to take all the guesswork out of mounting it, this is something we're going to offer.
Yeah, so you can, like I said, buy the bracket by itself if you already have the sleeve and you're comfortable with countersinking holes drilled into the back of it, or you could just, this will be an add-on. You could buy the sleeve, buy the whole thing, and it all works seamlessly together with the countersunk holes and be ready to go. So super pumped about that. The other thing I'm really pumped about, I think you were mentioning it while I was in the other room, drop blocks. I know that it sounds like such a simple thing, especially for you 63 to 72 guys, but back when I was buying trucks and lowering them, whether it's putting a 5.7 or a 4.6 on them, first thing I do is buy a drop block set. I was just ready to get, that's an easy way and an inexpensive way to get 2 inches of drop. You can have, if you're going 6 inches, you can go with a 4-inch spring, which means you're going to have a little bit better ride, and add the 2-inch block, and you've got 6 inches, so you don't have to go to a 6-inch spring. You have a little less ride quality if you're doing a 6-inch spring. So you maintain the ride quality with a 4-inch spring and a 2-inch drop block, or a 5-inch spring and a 2-inch drop block if you need to go 7 inches. So it's one of those things that part and product, because there's so many different types of drop blocks on the market, we are stepping it up a little bit and making it a pretty nice piece. It will be anodized black. It'll have our logo lasered into it. It will come with grade 8 hardware and be ready for you to bolt onto your truck. And when you look under there, it'll be a nice piece that you can be proud of. So really excited about that. And Garrett, how's it been this morning photographing this stuff? Let's just talk about let's talk about the creative side, because we've been Phill and I have been working on getting these parts designed for really about the last couple months. We just had, with the help of our friend Taylor up at Tinworks, these parts cut and sent to us, and then they've been at powder this week. So we just all really got to view them this morning, like really unwrap them and take a good look at them. And we've started the product photo process. Like I said, we're going to be shooting some product reviews later today, but just generally, like, what are your general thoughts of looking at these pieces?
Well, like, we knew they were going to be nice, right?
Yes.
But when we picked them up,
we hoped they were going to be nice.
We picked them up from powder yesterday. Of course, they were wrapped, but you could kind of, we peeked in there and we were like,
they just going to be nicer than we expect.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
I guess seeing it in person for the first time, like, completed, was like, man, this is some cool, very quality stuff. A lot of the stuff we test fitted while we were doing photos, and everything so far has just fit perfectly.
Yeah.
Looks great.
And
great
like
build.
At the end of the day, we're just normal truck guys. We're just normal classic car guys who happen to film and photo and document what we do with our vehicles. But it is still so exciting to take an idea from your, just from inside your mind and develop something like this, and it turn out in a way that you can be super proud of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I look at this stuff and I'm so proud. I'm so proud of this team for, helping make this happen. I think when you see this stuff on GassinSupply.com, you're going to see that these parts are represented very well visually. I think you'll know exactly what you're going to get, and you'll be confident in making, a purchase from GassinSupply.com. So definitely head over to the website, check it out. The first batch, we're soft launching this, so when folks are hearing this, it'll already be soft launched. We're filming this about 10 days prior to that soft launch, but these parts will be on there. They'll be ready for purchase. We do have a very small batch in stock right now of these parts and some more coming, but we're essentially doing a bit of a pre-order on this first batch through the soft launch. So feel free to go on there, order what you're looking for. We can typically have all this stuff produced, powdered in our hands and in your hands in about that 3-week time frame. So if you've got a little time, you want to wait on some cool, awesomely crafted and well-designed parts, give us a shot. We'd love to have our parts on your vehicle, and I think that, I don't know, I just couldn't be more proud of this.
Yeah, and I think it goes a long way of this, again, saying that this is stuff that we would and will use on our own.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That battery box right there is like going on my OBS this week.
This is coming at a perfect time as I'm about to start a build, and I'm like, I already see so many things that I can't wait to try out.
Yes.
Yeah, looks like I got to buy another truck.
Oh, dang. Well, I'm unless you guys have anything more, I think we're going to wrap it here. This is just, I wanted to just get this out here while it's so fresh. I want people to have the transparency of how this started, how these parts came about, and I really want people to hear how proud we are of them.
Yeah,
I think
we are.
Yeah,
it's a really cool thing. I'm really glad you guys are on board and helping me make this happen.
Yes,
we're all helping each other make this happen. And this is so pumped. Gassin Supply.
Gassin Supply Co. Check it out.
Go check it out. Oh, and real quick, Phill made this awesome little acrylic.
Yep.
What is this guy here?
Laser engraved out of 1/2-inch acrylic with our logo on the backside, and just playing around with tools that I have accessibility to now.
Yeah, man. So cool.
It turned out so cool.
Yep. So new podcast studio edition right there. All right, guys, go check out GassonSupply.com, and we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for being
awesome.
here. Yeah.
Thank you.